This universe is not just a stage. Every moment, every encounter, every emotion follows a law. We live within that flow, and now we begin to uncover its truth together. Welcome to the Law of the Universe, where your consciousness begins to awaken. Reflections on Cancer, ego, and the message of nature. Question. Hello, I'd like to ask about cancer. Many people close to me, relatives, neighbors, have been diagnosed with it. You once said, stubbornness leads to cancer. Does this mean that the habit of being stubborn causes illness? Or is it that living according to my own ego without developing proper depth and discernment leads to mistakes that bring about disease? Also, I've come to believe that cancer might be nature's way of telling us, live in harmony with others and adapt. Is nature giving us this illness to convey a message? Finally, if someone has overcome cancer by learning to listen to others and be less assertive, can they begin to express their opinions again, to some extent? Answer. Even the word cancer was created by human beings. Our predecessors named it, and we continue to use it. We also call it a tumor. The moment we label something as cancer, our thoughts become more rigid, more serious. But what does this actually mean? It means that something in the body is becoming hard and stiff. Aside from bones, nothing in our body is meant to be hard. Bones are naturally formed that way, but our cells are not supposed to harden. So when something becomes hard, it signals that the body is being mismanaged. What does mismanaging the body mean? It means that the soul is not functioning properly. It is not the body that operates itself, your soul does. Your soul is your true self. The body merely contains it. And it is the soul that governs your thoughts and movements. Thought arises from the soul, not from the body. If your soul functions properly, your cells stay soft and flexible. But when the soul's function becomes distorted, the cells respond accordingly. They harden. This is what we now call tumors. Think back to your childhood. If you often felt anger or frustration, what kind of cellular environment did that create? Would it encourage flexible development or increase the likelihood of rigidity? We need to reflect on this. As we grow and start to judge right from wrong, we develop firm opinions. We may decide that this is right and that is wrong. And if we despise or look down on something we believe is wrong, but it later turns out to be right, then our judgment has consequences. Inside us, our cells begin to change in accordance with the degree of error we carry. Our bodies are built on the principle of the 3-7 ratio. This means that 70% of us is designed to be soft and receptive. But depending on how we live, we may start to distort this balance. When our childhood was filled with warmth, laughter, and acceptance, our cells could grow healthily. That's why the first 21 years of life are designed to keep us within the family structure, to correct any early imbalances. In our 20s, we are full of potential. This is the time when we can reverse any unhealthy habits from earlier life. As we encounter society and begin to form our own paths, we start to detach from the limitations of our upbringing. But if someone had guided us during this time, taught us how to reflect, listen, and adjust, then many of our internal imbalances could have been healed. The human body continuously receives energy from the universe. I call this Chongi and Jigi, the energies of heaven and earth. If we don't receive these properly, everything starts to go awry. Our thoughts, discernment, and decisions. And when we start insisting that our way is right, based on these misjudgments, we fall into ego and stubbornness. This stubbornness, if left unchecked, creates dissonance with society and contributes to the development of disease, including cancer. Instead of insisting that we are right, we must learn to share, discuss, and reflect together. Through dialogue, we soften. We may even discover that something we once disagreed with is actually true. This is the beauty of youth, when we are open to changing our minds. This habit, when formed early, carries into old age. We must not dismiss others. We all grow with different strengths and perspectives. Through collaboration, not assertion, we refine our ideas, enrich our inner quality, and become wiser. Every idea, even if not perfect, becomes more complete through respectful dialogue. So what is cancer? It's the manifestation of prolonged rigidity, both in thought and in cellular behavior. When we live stubbornly, refusing to listen to others, our cells begin to harden. And when this continues, tumors form. Our body is an exact reflection of how we have lived. Your body is not what lives, your soul lives. Your soul, your divine self, governs this body. When the soul is misaligned, the body shows symptoms. Therefore, when illness comes, it's not simply a bodily matter. It's a sign that something in our soul's thinking and attitude needs attention. The moment you begin to search, why did this happen to me? You're already healing. That self-inquiry softens your behavior. And as your attitude softens, your cells begin to soften too. This is how healing works. Often, it's not the illness itself that frightens us. It's the idea of having only a few months left to live. We fear that there's no solution. But removing a tumor doesn't guarantee true healing. Unless we correct the underlying cause, our attitude, our way of life, the illness may return. Hospitals can remove the disease, but can they heal the person? True medicine doesn't just remove symptoms, it heals people. If doctors want to truly cure illness, they must begin by asking, why did this suffering come to you? And guide patients toward inner transformation. Just eating good food doesn't heal us. It's the act of humbly accepting someone's advice, of listening without resistance, that begins the healing. When a patient eats something because someone lovingly offers it, and they humbly accept it, healing begins. Not because of the food, but because of the shift in attitude. Intellectuals often fail here. The more knowledge they acquire, the more they dismiss others. But knowledge is not meant to make you proud. It is meant to help you honor and uplift those less fortunate. Knowledge is the product of human sacrifice throughout history. We must not forget that we were born with a historical mission. In the aftermath of World War II, our parents were taught, you were born to serve your people. Even in poverty, even when they couldn't afford candy, they learned this. This is how profound and empowering this mission is. We too were born to carry forward this spirit, to illuminate our ancestors' legacy, to develop our talents for the good of all, and to contribute to humanity. This is the calling of the people of Haedong, Korea. If we forget this, we lose our foundation. That's why many young people today feel lost, sick, and aimless. But life is never meaningless. If we are shown the right path, young people will thrive. Once life feels meaningful, everything starts flowing again. And when life becomes enjoyable, energy flows in. Joyful action generates energy. Tedious, burdensome living blocks it. That's the difference. So remember, cancer arises when we stop respecting others and insist only on our own way. This is not merely a theory, it is a truth aligned with nature's law. Cells thrive in cooperation, not rigidity. When elders become stubborn, they physically stiffen. And yet some of them try to loosen their stiffness by forcing themselves to run or exercise excessively, when all they really needed was to treat others with more respect. Let us not follow that path. Let us soften ourselves through humility, kindness, and reflection. This question you raised today is one that the whole world must reflect on. We are not just studying for ourselves. This is a message for all humanity. If we walk this path together, the world will not go astray. Let us face it with courage and sincerity, together. And cancer and stubbornness, a wake-up call from nature. Master CHEON Gong's wisdom. Opening. What if cancer isn't just a disease, but a message from your soul? What if healing starts not with surgery, but with humility? Main points. Cancer is the result of hardened cells, but those cells harden when our hearts and thoughts do. When we insist on our way, reject others' advice, and live in stubbornness, our body begins to break down. The true self is the soul. The body is only a tool. Illness is the soul's way of signaling that something needs to change. Healing begins with reflection, humility, and a willingness to listen. Respecting others, sharing ideas, and softening our attitude not only heals relationships but also heals the body. True medicine treats the person, not just the disease. Closing. Your body speaks what your soul cannot say out loud. When you change inside, everything outside, including your health, can change too. Cancer, stubbornness, and nature's message. Simplified summary of Master CHEON Gong's teaching. 1. What is cancer really? Cancer is a name humans gave to a condition where the body's cells become hard and rigid. Aside from bones, our body isn't meant to be stiff. When cells harden, it means something is going wrong, not just physically, but in the way we are living and thinking. 2. The connection between stubbornness and illness. Stubbornness means insisting that only your opinion is right and refusing to listen to others. This rigid mindset affects the body. Our thoughts become stuck, energy stops flowing, and the body becomes ill. The more stubborn we are, the more our cells harden. 3. The soul and the body. It's not your body that truly lives, it's your soul. The soul directs the body, and when the soul goes off course, the body shows signs through illness. Your body reflects how your soul has been living and thinking. 4. Your attitude shapes your health. If you grew up in a warm, joyful, and respectful environment, your body's cells likely developed in a healthy, soft way. But if your childhood was filled with anger, conflict, and judgment, it can lead to hardened cells and disease later in life. 5. Healing begins with self-reflection. When illness comes, ask yourself, why did this happen to me? That honest question already begins the healing. As you reflect and change your habits, your body also starts to soften and recover. 6. True healing versus medical treatment. Medical treatment may remove a tumor, but it doesn't fix the root cause. True healing happens when a person changes their thoughts, emotions, and lifestyle. If only the disease is treated but the person remains the same, the illness can return. 7. Respect and sharing bring health. Illness like cancer often comes from living without respecting others and clinging to our own way. When we begin to listen, share, and respect others, healing energy flows again. Humility and cooperation are essential to staying healthy. 8. The role of knowledge and humility. Knowledge is not for showing off. It's a responsibility to care for others with compassion. True wisdom means using knowledge to uplift and support those who are struggling, not to look down on them. 9. A message for young people. Many young people today feel lost and sick, not because they're weak, but because they've lost direction. If someone shows them the right path, life becomes exciting again. When life is meaningful and joyful, energy flows naturally and things fall into place. In conclusion, cancer isn't just a physical illness, it's a message from nature and your soul. It calls you to stop being stubborn, to respect others, and to live in harmony. If you change your inner world, your outer world, including your health, will begin to heal. That novel, The Sound of Spring. Yoon-mi lived alone in a quiet corner of town, in an old house that had long lost its charm. She rarely talked to others, avoided gatherings, and always believed she was right. My way is the best way, she would think. Her stubbornness had carried her through life, from her strict childhood to a demanding career, building walls she believed would protect her. But over time, those walls only pushed people away. Then came the moment that shattered everything. You have stage 3 breast cancer, the doctor said. It hasn't spread yet, but we need to act quickly. Yoon-mi sat in silence. The words echoed through her, louder than anything she had ever heard. On the way home, the sunset glowed softly over the alley, but it felt dim to her. Why me? She thought. At first, she felt anger, then disbelief. The hospital room felt like a prison. She hated the silence, the unfamiliar faces, and the sense of powerlessness. But everything began to shift when she noticed another patient across the room. The woman, just a few years older than Yoon-mi, had already lost her hair to chemotherapy. But she smiled easily, chatted kindly with nurses, and even laughed with her husband during visiting hours. Her energy was soft yet strong. One day, Yoon-mi finally spoke. "Isn't it hard?" she asked. The woman nodded gently. "Of course it is, but I've realized something. I lived with so much pride and stubbornness. Maybe this cancer came to help me see that." That sentence landed in Yoon-mi's chest like a stone dropped into still water. Stubbornness, her lifelong weapon, had it been hurting her more than helping? From that day forward, Yoon-mi began to change. Each morning she asked herself, was I really always right? Have I ever truly listened to others? She started opening up to the people in the ward. She accepted advice. When someone brought her food she didn't like, she said, "Okay, I'll try it." She even smiled at the nurses and said thank you without hesitation. These were small things, but they were new for her. As the days passed, others noticed. One of the patients said to her during discharge, "You know, Yoon-mi, you've become so warm. You look lighter somehow." That evening, Yoon-mi finally looked at herself in the mirror, not just to see her face, but to feel who she had become. Though her hair was still thin and her body bore signs of treatment, her expression had softened. The sharpness was gone. A quiet light remained. Tears welled in her eyes. "I've been so lonely," she whispered to her reflection. "If not for this illness, I may have never realized it." After discharge, she began volunteering at a local community center, something she would have once dismissed as a waste of time. But now, listening to others, supporting strangers, and offering warmth brought her peace. It filled a part of her she hadn't known was empty. Months later, at a follow-up appointment, The doctor shared good news. The tumor has shrunk. You're responding very well. If you continue this way, full recovery is possible. Yunmi stepped outside and looked up at the sky. I didn't just treat my illness, she said. I healed myself. That afternoon, while walking through the hospital's rooftop garden, she saw a small flower blooming between the stones. It wasn't loud or showy, but it was alive. She stood still, watching its petals dance in the breeze. For the first time in years, she truly wanted to live. Not just survive, but live deeply. I won't insist on my way anymore, she whispered to the wind. I want to hear your story, your heart, and walk beside you. And just like that, spring arrived. Have you ever experienced a time when letting go of your pride helped you heal or grow? Share your story in the comments. If this message touched your heart, please like and share it. Let us know. What do you think the body is really trying to tell us when we fall ill?